Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's garden video. Although I ended up not recording a couple videos over the last 2 weeks, we're ready to get started with this week. And at the beginning of the week, I did go out and look at my cauliflower row and found that quite a few cauliflower were ready to harvest, so I spent some time harvesting those. And the way I do that is I just pull them out of the ground and I end up cutting off all the leaves, kind of like you would find them at the store, although not wrapped in the plastic. But cut off all the leaves, and then I go ahead and bring the heads of cauliflower inside. And here you see the 3 cauliflower I harvested that day. But what's really kind of fun for me, and I've talked about this before and shown it before, is that all the extra leaves and stuff, which, we could eat too, I love giving to the animals. It makes me really happy. It's so much fun to go out there and just kind of throw it in the field and just watch them eat everything down. And nothing goes to waste in this yard. If, we have too much produce or whatever, the animals get it. So that makes me happy. And it also, there's just something about watching animals eat food. I don't know, it is just hysterical. I love it. And it brings me a lot of joy to feed the extra leaves and stuff to these animals and watch them really enjoy it. I also spent some time propping up my cucumber. As it continues to vine out and grow, I continue to feed it through this structure I have, kind of lifting it off the ground so that my cucumber hang down. But there are some of the vines that I actually just leave on the ground and let them grow on the ground and sprawl, and that's fine, they can do that. And so that's an example of one I left down there. And then anybody who grows zucchini knows that if you grow zucchini, you're going to have way too much zucchini. And of course, what do? I plant 3 zucchini plants. And I actually do that because in the past I've had zucchini plants that don't produce well. And so I plant like 1 zucchini plant thinking I'll get a lot, or, and it just doesn't happen. So I actually overplant the plants to make sure that I get some viable zucchini. And this year, all 3 of my plants are producing great zucchini. I actually pull them off the vine by twisting them. I think that's really effective in harvesting them, so that's how I end up harvesting those. And then I haven't been out to my septic mound in a long time looking at these squash. These are just random pumpkins that I, had seeds from that I saved from various pumpkins given to me over the years. And I just plant them up and let them do their thing and see what they're going to do. And if they give me pumpkins, that's great, but it's really easy. I really don't do much with them. I just leave them there. I had a couple leftover cauliflower plants, and so I decided to put them in the ground here. You see me go ahead and putting them in the ground and watering them in. And then as I was walking around the garden, I also noticed that the beets, which, again, missing from a video, but I had direct sowed last week and they'd started to emerge, which made me super excited. Now, because I didn't have videos for the last couple of weeks, I wanted to go through and show some of the produce that I've been pulling out of the garden. Just because there was been a lot happening, but not a lot was captured on film. So you see zucchini there that I'm pulling out of the ground quite regularly. Cabbages have been coming in, so I've been harvesting a lot of those. And one of the things that I lost in the video last week, which I really wanted to show, was how much effort it takes to process food. And these are fava beans. And, for fava beans, you have to pick them and then shell them and then blanch them. And so it's a, hours long process to get to the stage where you can finally eat them. And same with cherries. I went and picked all my cherries off my tree and I pitted them all and stored them all. But all that footage was lost. But a ton of processing happened last week. I also pickled beets and did a bunch of other stuff that was lost. But also cauliflower, I actually harvest and process a bunch of cauliflower. I chop some up and freeze it. I also process it into a cream sauce for a pasta. So did a lot of cauliflower, which again was lost. And then I also took my garlic, and it had been drying out for the last couple weeks, and I go ahead and went and cut off all the tops, and I've got that stored, and that's all ready to go as well. And there were 6 of them, or 3 different varieties, 2 of each, that I planted that I kind of want to do a taste test with to see if I want to try different varieties in my yard versus the one that I have. So I've got those labeled and I'll taste test those at some point in time. And I also pulled out a couple onions and I wanted to see if I could get them cured really nicely for storage. So I've got them going there. And yeah, I just did a lot of processing over the last couple weeks. The next day I realized that, because my beets were eaten down, which is super frustrating, and then there were some other things that, like my cauliflower that, wasn't, that I actually planted and actually kind of died, and some cabbages and other things that are like, I'm pulling out, but I want to get started again. It's not quite ready for fall, but it's also like I can do another summer round. So I decided to, again, start some seeds. So I've got them started. I've got 1 tray, and as those come up, I'll divide them out and see if I can get them in the yard this year. And, you know, for as many times as I've shown me videos of me harvesting strawberries and peas and raspberries and stuff, I mean, I won't film this every day, but zucchini is a daily task. And another thing I lost a bunch of footage of, but I'm showing here, is my beans started coming in, which I'm really excited about. And these are my pole beans there as well. So I'm excited that as the peas start to die back, my beans start coming in. So I went out to the garden, and I just alluded to this in the video. The day before, I had just walked out and seen that my beets were coming up. I was so excited about that. And then I walked over and saw that every single beet that had emerged had some sort of insect or bug damage or something, which is super frustrating because I had already lost the whole round of beets that I planted before I went to Hawaii, and then I just planted this, direct sowed these, and now I'm losing these. So super annoyed because I want to get these plants up and viable. And a friend came over and said, it's slugs, it's slugs. And I'm like, I don't think it's slugs. I never see slugs. I don't think it's slug damage, but they insisted it was slugs. So I thought I will set up beer traps and see if I can catch myself some slugs, because I don't think it is. But anyway, set up these beer traps, and spoiler alert, no slugs. So I'm not sure what it is. And now we're to today. So here's a look at my strawberry patch, and you see some kale, kind of smaller kale growing in, and then the cabbages, some that are ready to harvest and some replanting as well. You see some chard there that was really put in to be ornamental, but I'm feeding it to the animals. And because I'm crazy, I've started growing more rounds of lettuce in the middle of the summer, and those are some bolted lettuce that I'm feeding to the animals. My carrots are great. They're ready to pull out. I've kind of been leaving them in the ground because I've got a bag left over from Costco. And here's my potatoes, which are yellowing, which means I can harvest them. My corn is ginormous. I have no idea why my corn is so big this year, but my onions are also pretty much ready to harvest, so I can pull them out at any time. And the few onions that I planted that I saved from last year that I wanted to go to seed and produce seed for me to use next year have beautiful seed heads, and I'm hoping I get great seed from them. Here's a look at my tomatoes. You can't really see it. Some of them are producing fruits. They're still green and they're kind of hiding in there, but that's them. And then you see here my peas, which are starting to die back. So I'll pull those out pretty soon, and then some flowers at the end of the row there. Here's my cauliflower that I planted at various stages, some this last week. And don't look close because a lot of them have died. I did not do a good job of once planting watering them in, but the few that were from the first round, there are more that are ready to harvest, so I'll harvest those this week, and hopefully the new seeds that I planted will produce. That's broccoli. It needs to come out. Here's a look at some grapes that I planted last year, and my berries over there, which are coming in nicely, and some sunflower. Here's a look at my basil, which is pretty much ready to harvest, which I'm excited about. And I've got some tomatillos behind it there on the same row, and then my raspberries and some sunflowers coming in. A look at my cucumber there, which is growing up really nicely on that trellis system that I have. There are my pole beans growing up the structures, and I'm really excited about getting a big harvest from those. Here's a look at my zucchini, which are also growing in nicely as I showed before. Here's where my beets should be, which aren't there. And there's that sort of ginormous monstrosity of beets that are going to seed. And I really do hope that these produce viable seed, because this has been an experiment that's kind of crazy. But that's what's happening in the garden this week, and I will see you guys all next week with a new video.